Iran's nuclear facilities. In the second on point, we'll look at the spike in mid-air emergencies around the world and the anxiety among flyers. Now let's begin with headlines. Imran Khan supporters protest against Asim Munir in Washington, calls Pakistan Army Chief mass murderer.
Shame!
Shame on you!
Shame on you!
Shame!
Free Pakistan!
Sanatan pride is being rebuilt with stronger determination, says Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar at Puducherry event. Kolkata High Court stays Bengal government's notification on OBC listing till 31st July. Supreme Court slams extrajudicial ban on Kamal Hassan's movie Thug Life. ED conducts raids in 6 states in drug trafficking linked money laundering case. Rain slashed several parts of Delhi. NCR IMD issues red alert. "45 Palestinians waiting for aid killed by Israeli tank," says Gaza ministry. Russian drone missile attack on Ukraine kills 15, injures 616. All three killers attacked Ragada Raghuvanshi. 2 machetes were used, says cops. US President Donald Trump has warned everyone should evacuate Tehran as he left the G7 leaders summit early. Trump sounded a warning to Iran as Israeli airstrikes continue to devastate Iranian nuclear infrastructure. Trump says Iran is now open to talks about limiting its uranium enrichment following Israel's latest wave of attacks and the deaths of several top officials. En route to the United States, the US President said he's looking for better than a ceasefire and wants a real end to the nuclear problem in Iran. He added that he has not reached out to Iran for peace talks. Trump even said that Iran cannot have a nuclear bomb.
Doing pretty well. Right now we're doing pretty well. Remember, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. We don't have to go too deep into it. They just can't have a nuclear weapon.
There's reports that you want to send the Vice President and Steve Witkoff to meet with the Iranians and have discussions. Is that something you're considering?
I've been negotiating. I told them to do the deal. They should have done the deal. The cities have been blown to pieces. We've lost a lot of people. They should have done the deal. I told them do the deal. So I don't know. I'm not too much in a mood to negotiate.
The big question is whether the United States could drop a bunker buster carried by American B-2 stealth bombers, the only weapon short of a nuclear bomb that can destroy the deeply buried nuclear facility at Fordo. It's a massive ordnance penetrator. Bomb is named GBU-57. It weighs 13,600 kilograms. It can only be lifted by a B-2 stealth bomber. Since Israel doesn't have B-2 bombers, US may have to step in because that technology will not be given to Israel. US will need several GBU-57s to breach Iran's Fordo nuclear site, 90 meters underground.
Well, look, we had the peace talks. We gave it a chance. We've, clenched our teeth. We did everything we could to enable President Trump to negotiate the desired result, and that would have been preferable for us and I think for everyone. But we saw in the course of the negotiations, while they were negotiating with the United States, the Supreme Leader of Iran, Ayatollah Khamenei, tweeted almost every day, "Death to Israel." The talks were merely a facade. Look, we're doing what we need to do. I'm not going to get into the details.
Defense Minister Israel Cant has warned that Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei could meet a fate similar to Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein.
אני מזהיר את הדיקטטור האיראני מהמשך ביצוע פשעי מלחמה וירי טילים לעבר אזרחי ישראל. כדאי שיזכור מה עלה בגורלו של הדיקטטור במדינה השכנה לאיראן שהלך בדרך הזאת נגד מדינת ישראל. אנחנו נמשיך גם היום לפעול נגד יעדי משטר ויעדים צבאיים בטהרן, כפי שעשינו אתמול מול רשות שידורי התעמולה וההסתה. אני קורא לתושבי טהרן להתפנות מאותם מקומות בהתאם להנחיות דובר צה"ל בפרסית לשם הגנתם. תושבי טהרן, אל תסכנו את עצמכם ואל תהיו בני ערובה בידי הדיקטטור שמשתמש בכם לצורך הישרדותו.
Meanwhile, Israel struck dozens of targets tied to Iran's nuclear and ballistic missile program overnight. According to Israeli military officials, at least 10 Iranian scientists essential to the nuclear program were killed. Iran has so far fired 400 ballistic missiles and hundreds of drones towards Israel. Iranian missiles have hit both civilians and military targets in Israel, officials said. Now, what could bring Tehran to talks? That's the larger issue before I go to my guess. Its destruction of its nuclear facilities, Israel's degradation of its existing capabilities, leadership losses at home, and in the axis of resistance, or worsening economy and the fear of sanctions. And here I play the visual of the strike on the TV station, which went viral. And let me play out the bite of the brigade here, different.
הצוותים שלנו טיפלו החל משבת ב-14,583 תביעות לנזק ישיר מהתקיפות באיראן. אנחנו מלווים 2,775 תושבים שפונו מבתיהם, רובם שוכנו במלונות באמצעות הרשויות המקומיות במודל שקבענו מראש. נחתם הסכם בין מס רכוש לשלטון המקומי, תיקנו אותו עוד בשבת תוך כדי ואנחנו נותנים מענה. עד עכשיו זיהינו 24 מבנים, בניינים שמיועדים להריסה.
Israeli regime deliberately targeted the office of Iran's news agency during a live broadcast. This appalling attack constitutes a blatant war crime and a direct assault on press freedom. The Israeli regime has once again demonstrated that it is the foremost enemy of truth. It holds the disgraceful record of being the world's leading perpetrator of violence against journalists and media professionals. In response to this barbaric attack and aggression, Iran exercised its inherent right to self-defense in line with Article 51 of Charter. Our response was defensive, targeted, and proportionate.
The United States says Iran must resume talks to prevent further conflict since Iranian hardliners relevant to the nuclear negotiations are no more. Let me introduce my guests. I'm joined by Zamir Abbas Zafri, Professor Al Mustafa International University from Iran. I'm also joined by Eli Piapsh, Director International Relations from Israel, and Lieutenant General Rakesh Sharma, Defense and Geopolitical Expert. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining me, making time for On Point. Let me straight away go to Mr. Zafri. Sir, do you think with the war escalating, is there any scope for talks in the current scenario?
Thank you very much for inviting me. First of all, the aggression made by Israel on Friday by attacking a sovereign country which was completely illegal by all international laws, by attacking civilians, killing nuclear scientists with their family and their children. Just one building that they attacked in Tehran called Chamran Tower had more than 60 people being killed. Out of them, 15 were children. So the attack, which was definitely it was an aggression on a sovereign nation, And because of that aggression, Iran has the right to respond, and Iran is responding. And look, we lived in a world where Israel and America could hit any country and get away, and there was nobody who can challenge them. This is the first time Israel is getting the taste of what it has given to Gaza. And if you look at what is happening in Haifa, Jerusalem, and other places in in Israel, it is very clear that Iran is responding, and the response of Iran is very severe. First of all, secondly, the question of Iran is attacking civilians is absolutely nonsense, because if you look at the official figure that Israel has released, can you let me know how many civilians have been killed in this war so far according to Israeli data?
Now, your comments, Eli, your comments?
Yeah, there have been 24 Israeli civilians.
I'll come to you. I'll come to you, Mr. Jafri. I'll come to you. I'll come to you. Let me take opening comments.
Okay, no problems.
Eli.
Yes. So thank you so much for having me. Just as an immediate response, there have been 24 Israeli civilian fatalities as a result of the aggression by the Iranians. What's different is that in Israel, we create a mechanism to defend our civilians. All of our civilians go into bomb shelters. In Iran, unfortunately, that's not the case. Israel has no gripe with the Iranian people. The gripe is just with the leadership who have been threatening genocide, talk about it openly for a very long time. They make it clear that they are trying to build nuclear weapons and ballistic missile systems in order to annihilate Israel. Are we expected to wait for that to continue? They already attacked us a few times over the last little bit, and now we're just waiting for the opportunity to hit them before they hit us even more directly. And plus, you mentioned October 7th. October 7th was perpetrated by proxies of Iran. So Iran used proxies to attack us devastatingly. They attacked us directly. So what Israel is trying to do is not attack the people of Iran. In fact, we're encouraging civilians to leave. We are just attacking military sites, nuclear sites, the scientists, the people who are building the nuclear capabilities in order to enact the genocide on Israel.
General Sharma, your comments, then I'm going to introduce more relevant facets to this story, and then we can continue with our conversation.
Thank you for inviting me, Karthikeya. I would say that, I hope one wishes that sane counsel prevails. Any war of this kind, which is standoff despite being precision weapons being used, there are bound to be collateral damage. There would be civilian casualties. They're just unavoidable. And there are people working into military installations that are also civilians. So the collateral damage will be there, and it will be also extensive. So that's the first part of the point I have to make, that civilian casualties are inevitable. Second is that the aim of the exercise, or the aim of the whole war, which is to remove the nuclear weapons that the Israelis presume that the Iranians have. It's not a simple proposition, because it's buried way deep into mountainside. It's not easy, and always such an assault would lead to, if there is a damage to the nuclear plant or nuclear storage, then there would be radiation. All these places, Pardo and all, are not very far from civilian centers like Tehran and other places, and they would be cause of grave damage in case there is a nuclear leakage that is bound to take place if one of them gets stuck. So, while the cause between the two nations is not important, the effect of such an assault will be so tremendous in case a nuclear plant is ever hit, that the country's side will be barren for years and years altogether, and they will be fallout to neighboring countries also. So one gets anxious because of the typology of war that is going on between Iran and Israel presently.
I think the big picture is that the West, which is American, the Israeli leadership has made it very clear that it's an existential war, and the Iran cannot have the bomb. That's where the story right now is. That's where the conflict is centered. That's the moot point. Now, before we get into it, and before I come to you, Mr. Jafri, the top Iranian officials who have been killed in this conflict are General Hussein Salami, leader of the elite Revolutionary Guard, General Amir Ali Haizadeh, the head of the Revolutionary Guard's missile program, Mohammad Bagheri, Chief of Staff of the Iran's Armed Forces, General Gholmali Rashid, Deputy Chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Iran, Ali Sham Khani, Senior Military and Nuclear Advisor. Now, these are the people who have been killed in the war. And recently, Iran moved to the negotiating table with the United States under moderate President Masoud Pezeshkian to give its economy relief from the crippling sanctions.
We pushed back the nuclear program in the last few days, and we will continue with our efforts to push back the program. It's not a short operation. It's not similar to what we did in the 80s in Iraq when we had to attack one reactor, or in 2005 when we took care of the reactor in Syria. It's a much more challenging operation, and it takes time. Regarding your question about, we attack, targets that serving the IRGC in this effort. We will try to minimize all civilian casualties and to give warnings, but anyone who is cooperating with the IRGC and supporting the efforts of this terror regime should know that we have very good intelligence, and we proved it.
Okay, so Mr. Zafri, why is Iran keen to build a nuclear bomb? Why is it building one when it knew that it would invite a strike? And it is something which people knew from, I think, if I'm not wrong, 2015 onwards, that a conflict would be inevitable if Iran closes to the threshold level. Sir, to you.
Okay, I was a student in London in 2002, okay, and I heard a speech from Tony Blair that Iran is going to build a nuclear weapon within 1 week. So we are in 2025, and we are listening to the same old story that Iran is closer to building a nuclear bomb, like we heard about Saddam Hussein having weapons of mass destruction. Okay, this is the propaganda war. Okay, let me introduce few points so that the viewers are aware of what the situation is. Point number one, according to Ayatollah Khamenei, it is haram, it is illegal to build any bombs which is of mass destruction and which causes mass casualties. This is, according to Ayatollah Khamenei, illegal. I mean, if it was legal, Iran would not request America or any other country to give them permission to make one. So Iran is not making nuclear bomb because Iran is an Islamic country, and according to Islamic law, to build such a weapon is illegal, first of all. Secondly, that Iran
Mr. Zafri, then how does, yes. Mr. Zafri, then what explains possession of nuclear bombs with Pakistan? It is also an Islamic nation, correct?
Well, Islamic nation or not nation, because in Islamic nation, if you are following a supreme leader who is the final authority, and if he gives you an Islamic law, you need to follow that law. So in Iran, Muslims are Shias, and Shias follow their leadership, and that is the concept of Wilayat al-Faqih, which is the supreme Islamic leadership in Iran. And according to the Shia ideology, making a bomb which is of mass destruction is not allowed. It's illegal and it's haram. And this is a clear fatwa of Ayatollah Khamenei on this. So this all propaganda that Iran is making. Let me quote Ehud Barak. Ehud Barak is the former Israeli prime minister. He himself said that it is impossible to stop Iran making nuclear weapons by bombing them. So first of all, Iran is not making weapons. Second of all, it is not possible that you bomb Iran and you get the nuclear reactors out of it. Third point is Iran is a signatory to NPT. Israel is not. Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon. Israel has it. Now, if, say, suppose in a certain circumstances, Iran wants to make a nuclear weapon, who else? Why should anybody else decide that I should have nuclear weapons, but you should not have nuclear weapons? Fourth point that I want to comment is, when they say Iran wants to destroy Israel, let me explain you the view of Ayatollah Khamenei very clearly. Ayatollah Khamenei's view on Israel and Palestine conflict is this. He says that Israel or the Palestine, all the Jews, all the Christians, all the Muslims who are the owners of that land should return to that land. They should vote, they should have a referendum, and they should unitedly make one government which is based on the origin people of that place. And all people who have come from Europe and America should go back. So this all nonsense that they're saying Iran is making a nuclear bomb, so we attacked the nuclear bomb.
Okay.
This is absolute nonsense. The only reason why they have attacked Iran is because Iran supports Palestine and they believe in the freedom of Palestine. Let me complete 30 seconds. The same way Mahatma Gandhi said that England belongs to the English, France belongs to the French. Similarly, Palestine belongs to the Palestinians, and all the foreigners who have come and occupied should go back. This is the view of Mahatma Gandhi, and this is the view of Iran.
Okay, now let's start to call spade a spade. Eli, perhaps to you. So, my question to you is that if Iran is not building a bomb, then what is in further?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many comments that my colleague on the panel just said, which I don't even know how to begin to respond to.
You take your time, go point by point. Because I don't want a shouting match, but I really want to go point by point. If you want to rebut every point, you have all the time.
Well, thank you. I think the way to make it clear is that Israel actually has a history of dealing with Muslim nations, whether it is against their faith or against the rules of their faith or not. I'm far from an expert on the intricacies or the laws of who obeys what in the Muslim faith, but there already is a history of how Israel's handled countries, Muslim countries, who've wanted to get a nuclear weapon to threaten both Israel and the free world. Saddam Hussein, thank God Israel acted to prevent and destroy Saddam Hussein's nuclear capabilities. Otherwise, he would have threatened not just the free world, but probably would have threatened Iran. We also have Assad. Israel destroyed Syria's capabilities to get a nuclear weapon. And again, thank God, Syria was not successful in developing and achieving and getting to the point where they could threaten the world. They threatened the world in many other ways, but fortunately, they did not have a nuclear weapon. The idea that Iran is not trying to achieve a nuclear weapon is laughable, is not based in reality. And I think something else that seems to be relatively consistent with many who are aggressive from Iran is that they lie in order to say what we want to hear, but they continue. That seems to be also be something that is acceptable in certain aspects of Islam. So again, I don't really want to get into all of the challenges that he said, but I think it's quite clear Israel's intentions are only about protecting Israel and protecting the free world from a world with an Iranian nuclear enabled is a world that is extremely dangerous. That's the conclusion that Israel has made. Frankly, that's a conclusion that the IAEA has made. It's not just Israel. His statements regarding the need to go back, Israel, the Jews were kicked out of Israel many years ago. We are now just returning to our land. There is no problem with that. There should be not seen as any problem with that. Frankly, we have 20% of our population are non-Jews, are Muslims. Unfortunately, one of the first missiles that came from Iran, unfortunately, destroyed a family of 5 who are not Jewish, who are Arab Muslims. So that's quite unfortunate. That happens when you have a population that is 20% Muslim and 80% Israeli. We have a history of showing tolerance, of giving rights to minorities, something that you do not see in Iran. We don't talk about destroying people. We are just focusing on how to protect ourselves. If Iran had not started focusing and trying to attack us, we have no issue with Iran. And frankly, before the regime took over in 1979, Israel had great relationship with Iran, something that we hope will happen again in the near future. But unfortunately, with the current regime, that's impossible. It's not just bad for Israel, but it's bad, I would say, for many Iranians, whether it's a majority or not, who disapprove of their regime, who are threatened by their regime, who have been tortured by the regime. I don't know how many that is, but it is a lot. And hopefully they will see freedom as well as a result of the activities and the sacrifice that Israel is making, both for Israel and for the free world.
Perhaps, before I go to General Sharma, why is America not supporting Israel I mean, so you have been asking for GBU-57, you haven't got them.
Well, I think Israel is very much supporting Israel. The entire discussion about the negotiations, there is a way for there to be negotiations that could resolve without violence, without any fighting. It could have been. Israel was supportive of America's efforts at negotiations, and the result would have looked like a Libya arrangement, where not just that there's no enrichment, but literally the know-how and the capabilities are removed from the country. That's what happened in Libya in Gaddafi's reign, and I think that is something that could happen here, and that may happen now as well. Israel has no interest in causing any damage, any violence, and any harm to any individuals. Israel does want to protect itself. Israel needs to protect itself, and I think that is what I expect will happen. If the America comes to the determination that the best way to achieve this reality, that Iran will not get a nuclear capability, is by attacking Fudro themselves, they will do it. I feel confident from President Trump's public statement that will happen. And if not, Israel is going to take matters into its own hands and ensure that Fudro does not stop Israel, does not harm Israel, does not threaten Israel, even if it takes a long time. I would say Israel has the ability, and I would feel confident, Israel has the ability to disable Fudro, not as effectively, not as quickly as America could if they were to intervene.
Okay.
Israel will not end until Fudro is decommissioned.
Okay, General Sharma, two quick questions, one military and one strategic. Military question is, do you think that this war is going to last weeks, more than what people expect, or months? And the second question is, sir, every war has a political objective. So, it just cannot be about destruction of Fordo, or it cannot be about destruction of a nuclear enrichment site. That's a tactical objective. So, in your assessment, what is the larger political objective which Israel is looking at? And what's your assessment in context of the longevity of the conflict, sir? A clandestine conflict that has become an actual war, sir.
Karthik, a very interesting point made by Professor Zafri and Mr. Ali, both of them, and they are, since the warring parties naturally both have their own points of view. Now, what is the quantum of the defensive mechanisms that both countries have, and what is the quantum of offensive mechanisms both of them have is a point to be seen. See, to say that there are 400 missiles being fired by one country or the other, Iran doesn't have the kind of air defense and envelope that Israelis have got. But the fact is that it requires very expensive interceptors to intercept the ballistic missiles and the missiles being thrown by Iran. It's not an easy proposition to hold on to, despite the fact that there is Iron Dome and there's a David Sling, there are Patriot system, there are Jordanians also who are doing this, who are stopping it, but there is a limit to the kind of sophisticated interceptors any country would have. So there would be a time when it would be essential to take a step backward and count as to how long can we pursue it, and what is the total arsenal of ballistic missiles that Iran has got. So, these things are not produced in one day. So the limits will come when the limits to the offensive weaponry and the interceptors that both countries have, including the drones that will become scarce. And I think the time is not far away. I can't say that it lasts more than a week or so. They would be dwindling. They would be a loss of the quality of interceptors that you have, the best ones being used earlier, and then the countries will start seeking for other neighboring countries to help them out to intercept the missiles. It's not an easy proposition. Second is the public mood. See, all the warnings being given to Tehran and warnings being given to Tel Aviv are not strategic issues, are not tactical issues. You see the line of convoys of people moving out of Tehran, which are visible now on video. Yes. Al Jazeera carries it across. Then there are lines of people, of vehicles moving out. So the pressure being built across to people, and when collateral damage takes place of a substantial level, then there is obviously a desire to take a step back from from the kind of war, because this is very lethal war, very accurate war, and very damaging to people and damaging to infrastructure. It's not a simple war of artillery firing across the borders. This is getting more difficult. Third point I want to make.
Okay.
See, nuclear weapons is the currency of power. You know, one remembers reading 40 years ago a paper written by Desmond Ball, which is when he wrote in a Delphi paper. Professor Ball said, more and more nations having nuclear weapons, there will be peace in the world. Now, the fact is that IAEA has come up with a damning report on last Thursday, which says that Iran has got a very substantial amount of weapon-grade fissile material already with them. Now, this report which came on Thursday, one is not contesting the report. It is IAEA. All countries, including Iran, has got ambassadors in IAEA. So the fact is that that report was damning, and it gives rise to the fact that there is a possibility of a nuclear weapon being made. Now, why Iran is pursuing the issue is the Iranian policy. Why other countries do not like is other countries' policy. And I'm not going to contest each one. India is a nuclear weapon state. We have declared ourselves a nuclear weapon state and tested weaponry. So we have our own reasons and own rationale for doing so. Now, I would also say NPT. Now, NPT was mentioned by Professor Jafri. Fact is that NPT has had limited success. South Africa at one time had gone in to make nuclear weapons after being a nuclear NPT signatory, but finally they withdrew from it. North Korea was a signatory to NPT, but then they withdrew in 2003 or 2004 or something, and they tested the weapon immediately thereafter. So NPT, if a country wants to make a nuclear weapon, then they will do it in clandestine manner in any which way, where it is very difficult to firstly bring it to fore, or it is like Pakistan. Pakistan had not stated they have nuclear weapons. The minute we tested it, within 15 days, Pakistan had tested multiple devices. So there is a bomb in the basement kind of theory, which many nations can have, at least have the capacity to make nuclear weapons, and also delivery means which are kept with themselves. So, this is part of the theory. It is a domino effect. I have it, so my adversary will have it, my adversary will have it, the adversary will have it. So that the domino theory on nuclear weapons continues this way. And to answer your question is, what is the strategic issue as to why does this war on? So, all these issues initially you brought out in initial comments, regime change, nuclear testing, Iranian support across to Hezbollah, Houthis and to Hamas. All those issues are all on the table for a very long time. But having said that, the major issue is that there has been a Israeli desire to hit Iran for quite some time. This kind of thing was being spoken of and scenario building been done for years altogether. And it has come to pass. The last time the Israel had hit Iran, I think last year, it was again substantial, and many people had been killed in those ones also. So the fact is that it was coming. We were just counting a day when it would come. It was so, Kartikeya, this was on the anvil and it came. I still hope that there is too much of danger in this nuclear game going on here. You talk about GBO 57. If a GBO 57 is used, it was used in Tora Bora, a kind of thing which used in Tora Bora, the master of all bombs. The kind of damage it will do. It's a 14,000 kg bomb. One bomb carry. It will cause, the radiation effect itself will be tremendous, and one should be very cautious before one ventures into such kind of weaponry.
Yes. So, Mr. Jafri, my question to you is very simple. You were quoting verses, but you have not received support from Islamic nations within your region. I mean, sir, whether it's Jordanians, Saudi Arabia, UAE, the fact of the matter is that Iran in international politics today stands isolated. If I just leave alone the military aspect of this conflict, you are diplomatically isolated.
Okay.
On the issue of making the bomb.
Okay. Let me respond to this. First of all, Iran is being isolated itself is I think it's a claim which is not true. When Israel attacked Iran, one of the strongest condemnation was from Saudi Arabia, and all the Muslim nations condemned the Israeli attack. None of them condemned the Iranian retaliation. So this is a fact. We can go and check. Secondly, the Muslim nations which are there, everybody knows the world is divided into two poles. One is the pole of those people who are adventurist, those people who are imperialist, and those people who are colonialist, who want the world to be their colonies, and they want to use the resources of the world to be their resources. Like Trump clearly told Saudi Arabia that Saudi Arabia to me is like a cow. It'll give me milk. Till the time it is giving me milk, I'll use it. Till the time it is not giving me milk, I'll slaughter that cow. This is what Trump openly said in an interview. And this Saudi Arabia, they're so shameless. They welcomed the same person on red carpet. So the same is true with all the Arab nations. When it comes to, are they independent enough to make a decision on themselves? No, they are not independent. But are they? What is their position in Iran? They're very careful because they've seen what happened in Syria initially and what happened in Yemen, because they thought they'll easily destroy that. But because of the support of Iran, they were able to resist the hegemonic power. So the real problem that you asked, what is the real problem? What is the real war about? The real war is about two ideologies. One is an ideology of colonialism, imperialism, which wants to subjugate the world and which wants the world to be submissive to them. And there is an ideology of resistance, that we are not going to submit to you, and we're going to resist against your all your global. Like my friend from Israel, he said that we attacked Saddam Hussein and we attacked Libya and we attacked. That is what the ideology is, that we attack everybody, destroy everybody, millions of people will be killed, millions of people will be made homeless, but our war adventurism will continue. It will not stop. Netanyahu himself, in an interview in 1995, he listed all the countries that he wanted to attack. The only country that was left in his interview was Iran. And this war adventurism took him to that place. The only difference this time is that every time when they attacked, they were never attacked. This time they have been attacked.
Zafri, tell me, wasn't Iran helping out Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis?
Yes. And let me answer one by one, because give me enough time so that I can explain. So the first is, this is the first time that Israel is being attacked, to the extent that yesterday night all the international channels were stopped reporting from Haifa because it was hit so hard. So Al Jazeera, CNN, Fox, every news channel was stopped reporting from Haifa because Iran was able to pinpoint attack many places, from port to Weizmann Research Institute to the headquarters of IDF. So Iran has the capability to hit back. So the time are gone, which Ayatollah Khamenei says, Mizani mi khori. If you attack, be prepared for the attack. Secondly, Iran's stand about Hamas and Palestine is very clear, that Iran supports the freedom of Palestine, like Mahatma Gandhi supported the freedom of Palestine.
No, but you also espouse the cause, Mr. Zafri, you also espouse the cause of the destruction of Israel. That also goes simultaneously with it, which you are not saying.
Let me explain.
Which you are not saying. That is the fact of the matter, from river to the sea.
Yeah, let me explain you. Okay, first of all, this is not an Iranian slogan, from the river to the sea. But let me explain you what is the stand of Ayatollah Khamenei. Ayatollah Khamenei has said, there was a NAM meeting in which Indian Prime Minister Manmohan Singh attended in Tehran, and this is the speech when he gave to all the presidents and prime ministers who were part of the NAM, and it happened in Tehran. He clearly stated the view of Iran and Ayatollah Khamenei on Israel. The view is this: all the owners of the land should come back to Palestine. Palestine should be free. All the foreigners who have come and occupied, they should go back to their own country. Like India became free, Palestine should be free. This is what you call freedom from Israel. When they say destruction to Israel, doesn't mean the people of Israel. Let me add you one more point, because my friend from Israel, he was stating that he loves the Muslims. Let me explain you. You know, in the Middle East, which is the country which has the most Jewish population after Israel, which is the second largest population in Middle East? Do you know that? It is Iran. In Iran, the Jews in Iran are the second largest population in the Middle East. Point number two, in Iran, there is a number of people that you need to get to parliament. But for the Jews and the Christians, they have their own minister of parliaments. So Jews vote amongst themselves to choose one member of the parliament. Also, the head of rabbi, the head rabbi who is in Iran right now, has clearly stated he completely supports the Iranian stand, and he is against.
I'm running short of time. I
Iran.
need to make space for Piyush for a closing comment. Piyush, you have 1 minute for the closing comment. I have really run short of time.
Thank you very much. I will be brief. First of all, I will say the idea that in Iran there are more Jews there than any other country in the Middle East is more of a statement on the rest of the Middle East rather than it is on how great Iran is. When it comes to what Israel has done regarding in Iraq and attacking other countries, we didn't attack the country. We attacked their nuclear capabilities. We didn't kill 1,000 people. We saved thousands of people. Unfortunately, I need to go because you are shooting a missile at me right now. So thank you so much for having me. We will meet again in the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you both of you. Ultimately, and thank you, General Sharma, for joining me on this program. And I completely agree with you when you concluded your observation that it's easy to start a war, but it's very difficult to calculate when you will be able to stop. And I think that's the crux of the Israel-Iran conflict. A war has been started and energy infrastructure is being hit. And it is very difficult when one country would capitulate and say, well, the war cannot be sustained anymore. And that clarity is not there. And the real threat is in that haze of war, a disaster should not take place, because eventually, at the end of the day, the people will suffer, whether in Israel or in Iran. So this was on point one. In the second on point, we'll look at the rising incidence of Mayday emergencies around the world, but after a short break.
This is the tribe of your dreams. Introducing the all-new Skoda Kailak. Own your dream.
Skoda. बढ़ता है, खेलता है, झूलता उछलता है, दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कराता है, आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया, अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया.
Darkness in the silence of the night, where the roads carry.
Let there be dark. Scorpio N Carbon is here, the big daddy of SUVs.
Within a span of 36 hours of the Ahmedabad air disaster, multiple separate in-flight emergencies have been reported from across the world. These incidents have left flyers on edge, from close calls to diverted flights to technical glitches in aviation. They are on rise. Number of issues have come up in last 48 to 72 hours. Let me straight away introduce my guests. Group Captain V.N. Jha, Senior Scientist, former Director DRDO, and Captain Nishan Khalid, Aviation expert. So I'm not going to waste my time. On the right hand side of the screen, the number of issues that have come up are being listed. My question to you, Mr. Jha, is if you look at last 72 hours, these issues have been reported globally. Why is this happening?
Well, Karthik, very good evening to you. And for all your viewers, I must say that they